Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour. Dominica confers its highest national honor on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who dedicates this award to 1.4 billion Indians. At the India-CARICOM summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi proposes comprehensive partnership with Caribbean nations, redefines CARICOM from capacity building to cricket. India and Guyana strengthen partnership through a series of agreements, ink MoUs in the fields of health, hydrocarbons, agriculture, digital payments and pharmaceuticals. And Goa is all immersed in the cinematic experience, Cinemagic, as the 55th International Film Festival of India opens. Prasar Bharati launches an OTT platform called Waves. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi received the Dominica Award of Honour. That's the highest national award of Dominica. The award is in recognition of Prime Minister Modi's contributions to Dominica during the COVID-19 pandemic and his dedication to strengthening the partnership between the two countries. The award was handed over by the Dominica's President, Sylvanie Burton. India supplied Dominica with 70,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccine during the pandemic in February of 2021. The award also recognizes India's support for Dominica in healthcare, education and information technology under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership.
ये सम्मान केवल मेरा नहीं है, बल्कि भारत के 140 करोड़ लोगों का, उनके पुरुषार्थ का, उनके संस्कार का, उनकी परंपरा का यह सम्मान है। यह गहरे संतोष का विषय रहा है कि हम कोविड जैसी आपदा के समय डोमिनिका के लोगों की सहायता कर सके।
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with the Prime Minister of Dominica, Roosevelt Skerrit, on the sidelines of the second India-CARICOM summit. The leaders held a wide range of discussions on several areas. And on the sidelines of the second India-CARICOM summit, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi also held talks with the President of Suriname, Chandrika Prasad Santkoki. Now, both leaders also held talks on a wide range of sectors of mutual interest. Prime Minister Modi co-chaired the second India-CARICOM summit along with the Prime Minister Dickon Mitchell of Grenada, who is the current chair of CARICOM. And Prime Minister Modi thanked President Dr. Irfan Ali of Guyana for hosting the summit. The summit saw the participation from heads of government and foreign ministers of the member states. To further strengthen the India-CARICOM partnership, Prime Minister also put forward a 7-pillar proposal for CARICOM. Now, C stands for capacity building, A for agriculture and food security, R for renewable energy and climate change, I for innovation, technology and trade, C for cricket and culture, O for ocean economy and maritime security, M for medicine and healthcare. The Prime Minister said that cricket is a big connecting link between India and the Caribbean nations, and he proposed training of women cricketers of these nations in India.
क्रिकेट हमारे देशों के बीच एक बहुत बड़ा और महत्वपूर्ण कनेक्टिंग लिंक है। इस वर्ष आपके यहाँ हुए T20 वर्ल्ड कप से भारतीय क्रिकेट फैंस का कैरेबियन की ओर आकर्षण और भी बढ़ा है। और यह मैं सिर्फ इसलिए नहीं कह रहा हूं क्योंकि भारत ने यह विश्व कप जीता था। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि क्रिकेट संबंधों के साथ साथ महिला सशक्तिकरण को बढ़ावा देने के लिए हम कैरिकॉम के हर देश से 11 युवा महिला क्रिकेटर्स की भारत में ट्रेनिंग कर सकते हैं।
Prime Minister Modi gave a new definition to the CARICOM, focusing on capacity building, agriculture, food security and renewable energy, cricket and culture and medicine. And the Prime Minister stressed that India has put a proposal of opening Jan Aushadhi Kendras as well in the Caribbean.
CARICOM देशों की स्वास्थ्य सुरक्षा भारत के लिए उच्च प्राथमिकता का विषय रहा है। भारत में सामान्य मानवी को क्वालिटी एंड अफोर्डेबल हेल्थ केयर प्रदान करने के लिए जन औषधि केंद्र खोले हैं। मेरा प्रस्ताव है कि हम इस मॉडल पर कैरिकॉम के सभी देशों में जन औषधि केंद्र खोल सकते हैं। भारत और सभी देशों के बीच फार्माकोपिया को मान्यता देने के लिए समझौता संपन्न किया जाए तो इस प्रयास को गति ला सकते हैं।
During the India-CARICOM summit, Guyana's President Dr. Irfan Ali thanked Prime Minister Modi for his selfless attributes during COVID times, and he added that ties between India and the Caribbean are deeply rooted in shared history as well as enduring cultural connections.
Having collectively this occasion to meet you face to face for the first time since COVID, to thank you and the people of India for your selfless attributes when you delivered to this region our first set of vaccines during the COVID pandemic. Under your visionary leadership, India has an influential voice in the international community. Your launching of the Voice of the Global South, your recent chairmanship of the Group of 20, India's pivotal role in BRICS, and your steadfast advocacy for the developing world underscores your commitment to advancing the aspirations of the Global South. These initiatives have elevated India's stature and placed the concerns of developing nations, including the small island developing and low-lying coastal states of the Caribbean, firmly on the global agenda.
India and Guyana have signed key MoUs to strengthen ties in hydrocarbons, agriculture and pharmaceuticals. The highlights include diversifying crude oil sources, promoting affordable generic medicines and expanding India's UPI and RuPay systems to Guyana. These agreements aim to boost bilateral trade, energy security and digital inclusion, marking a new chapter in India-Guyana relations. Here's the report. India and Guyana are forging a historic partnership as Prime Minister Narendra Modi embarks on his landmark visit to the Caribbean nations. This visit underscores the deepening ties between the two countries, bound by shared values and mutual interests. Prime Minister Modi and President Dr. Irfan Ali engaged in comprehensive talks focusing on key areas such as defense, energy, health, pharmaceuticals, telemedicine, Ayurveda and capacity building.
भारत की एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी में गयाना की अहम भूमिका होगी। इस संदर्भ में लॉन्ग टर्म पार्टनरशिप के लिए एक खाका तैयार किया जाएगा। इस विषय पर आज किए जा रहे एमओयू से हमारा सहयोग और सुदृढ़ होगा।
Strengthening this robust partnership, India and Guyana signed several agreements across critical sectors, signaling a shared vision for growth and development. MoU on cooperation in hydrocarbon sector, MoU for bilateral cooperation in the field of agriculture and allied sectors, Cultural Exchange Program 2024 to 2027, MoU for recognition of Indian pharmacopoeia, MoU for implementation of Jan Aushadhi scheme, MoU on cooperation in the field of medical products, India-STAC MoU on cooperation in the field of sharing successful digital solutions. MoU for enabling deployment of UPI-like system in Guyana. MoU for cooperation in collaboration in field of broadcasting. MoU between National Defence Institute Guyana and Rashtriya Raksha University, Gujarat.
हम दोनों देशों के कृषि अनुसंधान संस्थानों के बीच सहयोग बढ़ाने पर भी सहमत हुए। कृषि के क्षेत्र में आज किए जा रहे एमओयू से हमारे प्रयासों को बल मिलेगा। भारत फार्मा प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए गयाना का महत्वपूर्ण स्रोत है। हम फार्मा एक्सपोर्ट्स बढ़ाने के साथ साथ गयाना में जन औषधि केंद्र बनाने पर भी काम करेंगे।
Prime Minister Modi celebrated the enduring cultural connections between the two nations, emphasizing the cultural exchange program that will continue until 2027. He also hailed President Dr. Irfan Ali as a true brand ambassador of India, reflecting the close bond shared by both leaders.
राष्ट्रपति इरफान अली स्वयं भारतीय समुदाय के बहुत बड़े ब्रांड एम्बेसडर हैं। आज हम दोनों देशों के बीच 2027 तक कल्चरल एक्सचेंज एग्रीमेंट पर सहमति बनी है। इससे हमारे पीपल टू पीपल टाइज और मजबूत होंगे।
Dr. Irfan Ali acknowledged India's expertise in vaccines, urban development and agriculture, highlighting these as key areas of collaboration. Praising Prime Minister Modi's leadership, he called him a champion among leaders for his significant contributions to the developing world.
You are a champion among leaders. You have led incredibly. You have shown the light to the developing world, and you have created a development matrix and framework that many are adopting in their own country, and much of it is relevant to us here in Guyana.
In a heartwarming gesture, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Ali participated in the Ek Ped Maa Ke Naam initiative by planting a sapling in Georgetown. Adding to the significance of the moment, President Ali was joined by his grandmother and mother-in-law, symbolizing respect for maternal bonds and shared values. With Siddharth Bardwaj, Bureau Report, DD India. And still to come here on DD India News Hour. The US shuts its embassy in Ukraine, citing a threat of air attack. Putin aide warns the West against a direct military confrontation. Hong Kong's pro-democracy tycoon Jimmy Lai testifies for the first time in a landmark trial. And President Putin of Russia gifts zoo animals, including lion and bears, to a zoo in North Korea.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lynn. The Ukraine-Russia conflict, it remains a focal point of global concern. The US support to Ukraine for striking deep into Russian territory has heightened tensions. Let's look at this report.
It's been more than 1,000 days since the Russia-Ukraine conflict began dominating global discourse. Amid growing fears of escalation, the US Embassy temporarily closed operations in Ukraine's capital city, Kyiv, after receiving specific intelligence about a potential significant air attack. This development follows the United States' decision to allow Ukraine to strike targets deep inside Russia using American-made weapons. Ukraine recently targeted a Russian weapons arsenal in the Bryansk region with attack missiles or the Army Tactical Missile Systems, marking the first time these missiles were fired across the border. The Biden administration's significant policy shift prompted a response from Russian President Vladimir Putin, who on Tuesday signed a decree expanding the circumstances under which Moscow could use nuclear weapons against a non-nuclear state, if that state is supported by nuclear powers. The US has not adjusted its nuclear posture in response to Russia's updated doctrine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his advisors are preparing for the possibility of a second Trump presidency, as the candidate has expressed criticism of US aid to Kiev in the past. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, the Russian President Vladimir Putin's spy chief, he has warned the West on Wednesday that it risks disastrous consequences if the United States and its European allies stoke a direct military confrontation with Russia over Ukraine. Sergei Naryashkin, the head of Russia's foreign intelligence agency, the Foreign Intelligence Service, they've said that Russia would punish any NATO member that helps Ukraine strike deep into Russia with long-range weapons. With Russian forces advancing in Ukraine, Moscow says that it will achieve all its aims, including demilitarization of Ukraine. But Ukraine downplays the threat of an imminent large-scale missile threat after several foreign embassies in Kiev had closed for the day, citing potential strike. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has told a US TV channel that he fears that he might lose the war against Russia.
If they will cut, I think we will lose. Of course, anyway, we will stay, we will fight. We have our production, but it's not enough to prevail. And I think it's not enough to survive. But that will be, if such choice will be American choice, so we will decide what we will have to do.
US President-elect Donald Trump is forging ahead with his cabinet selections and policy plans as his transition gains momentum. From healthcare reform to economic strategies, Trump's latest announcements promise a mix of continuity and innovation. Nupur Praveen reports.
US President-elect Donald Trump isn't just building a cabinet. He's assembling a cast for what promises to be a headline-making presidency. Donald Trump has tapped celebrity doctor Mehmet Oz, a Turkish-American doctor, to lead the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Service, an agency that is responsible for the healthcare of millions of Americans. Dr. Oz transitioned from cardiothoracic surgery to television fame via the Oprah Winfrey Show and his 13-season Emmy-winning show, The Dr. Oz Show. Oz is another addition to the unconventional health team after Trump tabbed Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as Secretary of Department of Health and Human Services. Together they will target what Trump calls the illness industrial complex. The billionaire co-founder of World Wrestling Entertainment, Linda McMahon, has been appointed as Education Secretary in the new Trump administration. She is a long-time Trump supporter and brings loyalty and experience to the role. She is also the co-chair of Trump's transition team. Trump has chosen Howard Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, to lead the Commerce Department. Lutnick shares Trump's vision of bringing back manufacturing jobs and integrating cryptocurrency into US economic policy. Trump also joined his closest ally at the moment, Elon Musk, on Tuesday at SpaceX's latest Starship test launch in Texas, signaling interest in space exploration. Meanwhile, in New York, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has delayed sentencing in Trump's hush money case, giving prosecutors time to counter his expected dismissal motion. This marks another legal hurdle for the president-elect. From reshaping healthcare to rethinking the economy, Donald Trump's transition is as controversial as it is ambitious. As January approaches, the world is watching to see how these bold choices will define his presidency. Nupur Praveen for DD India.
Jailed Hong Kong media tycoon Jimmy Lai defended his newspaper Apple Daily as a strong advocate for democracy and freedom during his national security trial on Wednesday. Lai stated that the core values of the newspaper, such as the rule of law, democracy, freedom of speech, religion and assembly, reflect the principles held by the people of Hong Kong, while Beijing slammed Lai as an agent and a lackey for anti-China forces. The Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian said that Lai is the main plotter and participant of the anti-China chaos in Hong Kong. The case centers around articles in the newspaper that supported huge, sometimes violent, pro-democracy protests in 2019 and criticized Beijing's leadership. The 76-year-old has been imprisoned for nearly 4 years and could face a life sentence. A Russian government delegate, Alexander Kozlov, met North Korean officials in Pyongyang on Tuesday. During the visit, both the countries discussed bilateral cooperation in different fields, including trade, economy, science and technology. This meeting came after the South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol at the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro had urged the two leaders, the two countries in fact, to end their military confrontation, their military cooperation, which is taking part in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russia also transferred over 70 animals on Wednesday, including an African lion and 2 brown bears, to a zoo in the North Korean capital Pyongyang from Moscow Zoo. The animals were a gift from Russia's President Vladimir Putin to the North Korean people. A court in Pakistan granted bail to the jailed former Prime Minister Imran Khan in a case relating to the illegal sale of state gifts. That's what his party said on Wednesday. The cricketer turned politician has been in prison since August of 2023, but it was not immediately clear if the embattled politician would be released, given that he faces a number of other charges too, including inciting violence against the state. However, the ruling Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party said that Imran Khan lacked bail in cases in which he is charged with planning riots by his supporters in the wake of his arrest in May last year. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan denies any wrongdoing and alleges all the cases against him are politically motivated. Pakistan's military said on Wednesday that a suicide attack in northwest Pakistan killed 12 soldiers, following a separate clash that left 8 dead in the same region bordering Afghanistan. The army also said that 6 militants died in an exchange of fire between them and the soldiers right before the suicide attack in Banu. The Indian Foreign Secretary is scheduled to visit Dhaka in mid-December. This is as he leads an Indian delegation there for the next round of the India-Bangladesh Foreign Office consultation. The Foreign Affairs Advisor of Bangladesh, Tahood Hussain, said so on Wednesday evening. He said that he believes Dhaka-Delhi are advancing towards normal bilateral relations and the FOC will be the first step in that direction. This is according to reports by the Bangladesh Sangbad Sangstha, which is a state-run news agency. Now, he's also expressed optimism that Dhaka and New Delhi could move forward pragmatically and realistically to restore ties to a completely normal state. During the visit, the Indian Foreign Secretary is expected to pay a courtesy call on Bangladesh's Foreign Affairs Advisor, reports the BSS. The last annual FOC, it was held in New Delhi on November 24, 2023. Still with news from Bangladesh, and the global rating agency Moodys has revised its ratings for 6 Bangladeshi banks, citing concerns over the country's recent sovereign downgrade. The banks affected are Brak Bank, Citibank, Dutch Bangla Bank, Eastern Bank, Mercantile Bank and Premier Bank. Moodys has revised the outlooks on the long term, that's the LT deposit ratings, of all these 6 banks to negative from stable. Earlier this week, Moodys downgraded Bangladesh's long-term ratings to B2 from B1, marking the 2nd consecutive downgrade in under 2 years. The short-term ratings were affirmed at not prime. Now, the rating agency also revised Bangladesh's GDP growth forecast, projecting a slowdown to 4.5% from the earlier estimate of 6.3% for the current fiscal year. Now, for the next fiscal year, the projection has been lowered to 5.8% from 6%. And no business sector has seen as much of an uptick in recent years as the defense sector for obvious reasons, as two major conflicts are playing out in Ukraine and West Asia. For many businesses, the question is how to position themselves in this environment. Now, the CEO of Pan-European Airbus says that some consolidation might be helpful. Lars Holter is with Deutsche Welle and he now joins us. Lars, what exactly are you hearing from Airbus?
Thanks for having me. Yes, indeed, the group's CEO, Guillaume Faury, says that Europe's space industry, he initially started with that, but later expanded his comments to defense, needs to restructure and consolidate in the face of a private US competition and investments in China and elsewhere. To quote Monsieur Faury, he says, we are fragmented in a world where some giants have emerged, especially in the US, but not only. They are also growing in China. As for the US, SpaceX has become a giant in the field, supplying NASA with rockets and technology and pretty much single-handedly saving the country's space program. Now, SpaceX is obviously owned and run by Elon Musk, who is now President-elect Trump's best buddy. And with that, his standing and most certainly the standing of his company will grow. So as not to be left in the dust, the Airbus CEO says that his company and France's Thales Alenia Space and Italy's Leonardo are in early talks on a possible tie-up of their individual satellite activities.
Yes, but Lars, how big is the defense sector in Europe in any case? I mean, can you give us some numbers?
I guess the most interesting number is on the growth we've seen in the sector. EU defense spending has increased by 31% since 2021 and is expected to reach 326 billion euros this year. That is according to figures from the European Defense Agency. Now, that figure represents 1.9% of the European Union's gross domestic product. And that's another interesting number because it's just shy of 2%, and that is the magic number that's been discussed for so many years now. It used to be the number NATO countries were expected to spend on defense, but following the rise of Trump in the US and taking into account the possibility that the US will be less interested in the NATO than it used to be, it is widely expected that European countries will spend more.
Thanks a lot, Lars. And now let's move on to some other stories making news around the world. A baby eagle has hatched in the Philippines with the help of artificial insemination. This baby eagle is under observation after it hatched on the 11th of November, sparking hope that the critically endangered species can be saved from extinction. Video footage showed chick number 30 hatching out of its shell at the newly opened National Bird Breeding Sanctuary at the southern city of Davao. Uganda's opposition politician Kizza Besigye was kidnapped from Kenya and then transferred to Uganda this week. And his wife posted a message on the social media platform X on Wednesday. She informed about his whereabouts at a military jail in Kampala. Besigye has run for president of Uganda against the current president Yoweri Museveni 4 times and lost each time. Though he has rejected the results, he's alleged fraud and voter intimidation. The International Criminal Court sentenced a Mali police official to 10 years in jail for crimes against humanity committed in the city of Timbuktu. He was convicted in June this is for crimes including torture when he was a member of the feared Ansar Dine Islamist militant group that seized control of Timbuktu for almost a year from early 2012. A white blanket of snow enveloped the Swiss Jura Mountains on Wednesday, marking the season's first snowfall. Swiss weather forecast is expecting 40 centimeters of snow in this region on Thursday. Still to come here on DD India News Hour. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh visits Laos PDR. This is for the ASEAN Defence Ministers Plus meeting. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Mark Lin. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is in the Laos PDR and he's there for the 11th ASEAN Defence Ministers Plus meeting. Now, it is the highest defence consultative and cooperative mechanism in the ASEAN. While addressing the Indian community there also, Minister Singh said that after 2014, India's stature has grown in the forum.
2014 के बाद इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भारत का स्टेचर बढ़ा है। पहले भारत इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर कुछ बोलता था तो भारत की बातों को जितनी सीरियसली लिया जाना चाहिए, जितनी गंभीरतापूर्वक लिया जाना चाहिए, नहीं लिया जाता था। लेकिन आज इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर भारत कुछ बोलता है तो सारी दुनिया कान खोलकर सुनती है कि भारत बोल क्या रहा है। यह भारत की यह कोई छोटी बात नहीं है। अब हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर का सम्मान यदि दुनिया की देश में होता है, इसका मतलब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जिस कंट्री का प्राइम मिनिस्टर है उस कंट्री का सम्मान हो रहा है।
Well, on the sidelines of these talks, the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh met his Chinese counterpart, and this was the first such meeting following the recent disengagement, as well as the meeting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi with the Chinese President Xi Jinping, which happened on the sidelines of the BRICS summit. Now, Minister Singh highlighted that amicable relations between India and China would have a positive implication for global peace and security and prosperity. Considering that both these countries are and will continue to remain neighbors, he said that they need to focus on cooperation rather than conflict. Minister Singh also met his counterparts from Malaysia and Laos PDR, and during this meeting, with the Malaysian minister, in fact, both sides agreed to support each other's endeavors to arrive at meaningful outcomes to promote security and regional stability. Minister Singh complimented Laos PDR for its efficient and inclusive leadership as the chair of ASEAN this year. These meetings are aimed at further enhancing bilateral defense cooperation with these countries. And India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held talks with Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Keith Rowley. This happened on the sidelines of the second India-CARICOM summit in Georgetown, Guyana. Both leaders held talks on a number of issues, and we could see that some MoUs were also exchanged and signed. Prime Minister is there for the second CARICOM India summit, and as a result of that is in fact meeting all the leaders of the Caribbean one by one, and so it's like the Prime Minister has visited the entire Caribbean, and this is his meeting with the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Prime Minister Keith Rowley. We can see that the CARICOM is a grouping. It's greatly benefiting from economic opportunities because of India's large economy and several advantages that could be linked with that. Apart from that, technical assistance that can come from India, and India has offered a lot in that direction. There are cultural and historical ties between the whole of the Caribbean as well as India. India has lots of diaspora connections there, and we can see that India has been a global advocate for the global South, and as a result of that, India is finding itself, speaking a lot with global South countries these days. And now some updates from day 2 of the Sanyukt Vimochan 2024. The Indian Army is conducting the annual exercise with friendly foreign countries at Porbandar on India's west coast. And this year's theme is Cyclone in Coastal Region of Gujarat. In fact, these exercises simulated a cyclone. There were choppers, inflatable boats, sniffer dogs. You have it, drones as well. Nandita Daga reports.
Sanyukt Vimochan 2024. This is the annual humanitarian assistance and disaster relief exercise which is being led by the Army, and it is aimed at improving the synergy and coordination between various agencies, which includes the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, the State Disaster Response Force, the local weather departments, police, etc., the district administration, in providing succor to the people in the wake of a cyclone. So here there is a simulation of a very, very severe cyclone on the western coast of India between Porbandar and Okha, in the coastal state of Gujarat, and that is how the Army is demonstrating. The Navy has pressed in its assets, including the Coast Guard. The Army has deployed bridges like the Sarvatra and Bailey bridges, set up mobile hospitals or hospitals on wheels, a joint command and control center. The Air Force has winched up survivors on the rooftops of houses with the help of winching on a B-17, B-5 helicopter. The survivors are also being zip-lined from a building they were stranded on.
And we are also getting more information here. India's Prime Minister has also held talks with the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, and both leaders held talks on a variety of issues. Mia Mottley is a Barbadian politician. She's an attorney who has served as the 8th Prime Minister of Barbados. She's been in office since 2018, and as the leader of the Barbados Labour Party. As I was saying earlier, all the Caribbean nations are participating in the CARICOM, heads of the CARICOM India Summit, in fact, and this is taking place in Guyana. It's an opportune moment for Prime Minister Narendra Modi to interact with all the leaders of the Caribbean countries one by one. He has already interacted with the leaders of Suriname, and apart from that, Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana, of course, and Dominica. And now he's interacting with the leader of Barbados. The whole purpose of this visit is to attend the second India-CARICOM summit. We continue to give you information from Georgetown, but let's move on to our next story. As the high-stakes assembly elections came to an end on Wednesday, Maharashtra recorded 62.05% voter turnout, and Jharkhand saw 68.01% voter turnout. Voting for all 288 seats of the Maharashtra Legislative Assembly was held in a single phase, voters exercising their franchise. The ruling BJP-led Mahayuti Alliance is vying to retain power, and the Mahavikas Aghadi Combine is hoping for a comeback. While in Jharkhand, it was the second phase of assembly elections. Candidates were contesting for 38 constituencies across 12 districts. The first phase of the polls had seen 43 constituencies go to the polls, 81 assembly seats in total, and 43 went on November 13. Counting of votes for all these assembly seats is going to take place on Saturday. Let's take a look now at other stories making the news. Coal import by non-regulated sectors and domestic coal-based thermal power plants dropped 9.83% to 63.28 million tons during the April to September period of the current financial year. This highlights India reducing its dependency on imported coal by boosting domestic production and improving logistics. Over 1 crore 76 lakhs, that's 10 million, and then in fact it would be 17 million, around 17 million 600,000 students from all across India, Indian states and union territories. They participated in a project which was called Project Veer Gata 4.0. It's organized by the Ministry of Education. Now, during this project, school students, they showed their creative skills to honor acts of bravery and sacrifice of the Indian Armed Forces. Let's get you some news now about the International Film Festival of India, which has begun in Goa. And Prasar Bharati, which is India's public broadcaster, has launched its own OTT platform. And Wave is what it's called. It offers a broad spectrum of entertainment and news content, as reported by the ET brand equity. Now, the app is available on both Android and iOS platforms for download. The platform aims to cater to a wide audience with a mix of live channels, movies, TV shows, games, and even events. Here's the report.
The 55th edition of the International Film Festival of Goa kicked off in grand style with the launch of many firsts and new initiatives in order to cater the global cinema market. And in a significant development for the Indian digital media landscape, Prasar Bharati's much-awaited OTT platform went live during IFFI with its official launch at the prestigious international festival.
As the audiences have discovered the newer media of consuming content, digital is one medium which has gained quite a lot of prominence in these days and times. So it is only fitting that Prasar Bharati also forays into this domain. And one of the advantages of this would be also that the content would be available to all audiences, even if they are in the remotest parts of the country or even outside the country. There is a lot of demand for Indian content across the board, across the world. The Indian settlers in various countries also remember their times here in India through these programs. And of course, they want to keep updated with the news, with the entertainment of Indian origin. We will also be making provisions for sharing some of the informative content that is being produced by the ministries of Government of India, by various state governments, and some rare archival material of photographs, of magazines and journals and e-books. We would also be providing facilities for e-games. So, e-shopping, which is also gaining a lot of prominence these days, is also going to be a part of Waves. So there is something for everyone, and I would request the audiences to download Waves later today and be a part of this experience of this entertainment की नई लहर.
दूरदर्शन तो हमारे खून में था, अब वेव हमारी सांसों में होगा. मतलब अच्छी बात है. इनसे सारी चीज़ें बहुत जगह सिनेमा पहुंचती हैं.
Prasar Bharati's OTT platform is poised to offer a diverse range of content, including live channels, archival footage, and original programming to the audience. The platform also focuses on family-friendly content, aiming to provide a wholesome viewing experience for audiences of all ages. Talking about the benefits of content creators, interestingly, the content creator will retain the IP rights. The OTT platform further aims at creating a marketplace to showcase its vast archive of over 2,000 titles, including a treasure trove of heritage photos. Deepika Mehto's report for DD India.
This is a preview file.
Well, the 55th edition of the International Film Festival of India in picturesque West Indian state of Goa has begun, and the opening film of IFFI 2024 is The Better Man. Let's take a look at this detailed report from Deepika.
The 55th edition of IFFI opened with grand style in Goa, showcasing a rich landscape of cinema and culture. Speaking on the occasion, the Chief Minister expressed his delight on continuing the legacy of hosting IFFI in Goa.
IFFI और गोवा एक दूसरे के हो गए। कोई गोवा को याद करता है तो IFFI याद आती है और IFFI को याद करता है तो गोवा आ जाता है। हमेशा के लिए IFFI ने गोवा को बहुत कुछ दिया। द ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म पे ये गोवा को पहुंचाया है। इतना सारा अच्छा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर यहाँ पे क्रिएट किया है और ऑलवेज आई वेलकम्स द इंटरनेशनल एंड नेशनल guests, those who are coming specially for this IFFI, especially the directors, actors, actresses, those who are coming to see the movies, to see the IFFI.
आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक होसी भी सच। नागेंद्रहाराय त्रिलोचनाय भस्मांगरागाय महेश्वराय नित्याय शुद्धाय दिगंबराय तस्मै नकाराय नमः शिवाय।
आम्ही सांगतो नमन तुम्ही ऐका हो गुणीजन पयल नमन आम्ही करीतो वंदन पयल नमन हो करीतो वंदन तुम्ही ऐका हो गुणीजन आम्ही करीतो कथन पयल नमन हो पयल नमन।
The Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Ashwini Vaishnav, shared his thoughts through a video message.
I welcome all the delegates from across the world to the IFFI 2024. Friends, IFFI, as we call it, has become a very important milestone in the development of film industry in India. We in India at this point of time are very much focused on developing the content creators economy. We have a very vibrant creators economy where people are coming up with very innovative content, showcasing some of the rich heritage of India, the cuisines of India, the culture of India, some of the gems of Indian language and literature are being presented by the content creators in very interesting ways. So we believe that with the addition of technology and the development of the creators ecosystem, India can play a major role in the way the creators economy is shaping up. We welcome you all to this edition of IFFI, and we hope that your stay in Goa will be very interesting. We hope that you will find new partnerships and develop new ideas here. We hope that some of the youngsters will get mentors. We hope also that many of the ideas that you share with us will help us shape the direction of the industry in the coming years. Thank you very much. Wish you all the very best.
The Secretary to the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting spoke on the importance of the event and how IFFI is adding more to the world.
IFFI is a great medium for us to take this content outside. And when it comes to Film Bazaar, the idea is that the future is now. Absolutely. This festival is actually dedicated to the young filmmakers. And the idea was to get the young filmmakers the right market. And that's why the Film Bazaar is a huge property this year.
Yes.
We have close to 1,600 entries.
That's
and some of these are at the initial stage, story stage, co-production stage. All these movies are now on offer for somebody to co-produce. A lot of people have come from world over. Plus we also have the Creative Minds of Tomorrow, where 100 finally selected entries have now come here to IFFI to show their wares. And that's again a huge promise that these guys have for our future. So cinema is definitely being given out to the next generation in a befitting manner is our point. Yes. When it comes to Film Bazaar.
Prasar Bharati, who's the official broadcaster of IFFI, made special arrangements to make this event look grand and accessible to each part of the country. Red carpet always remains the main attraction of IFFI, and this time around, the event was passed with the walk-in of not only just the celebrated stars from across the world, but also young and creative minds, debutantes, and female filmmakers in large numbers. Apart from that, the event also witnessed a special act by the country of focus, Australia, to touch the historical perspective. A special performance by Sunny Kaushal and Sania Malhotra enthralled the spectators that showcased the journey of Indian cinema. And the 55th edition of International Film Festival of India, IFFI 2024, kick-started with grand celebrations, great interactions with mega stars, and the peak of celebration of Indian cinema with the world. With camera person Alok, this is Deepika reporting for DD India.
Now, Chakib is an Algerian film director whose films got nominated for the Oscars. Now, walking down the red carpet at the 55th edition of IFFI, he expressed his happiness and his experience on being in India for the first time. He spoke to Deepika.
We have with us the director of Algeria. His film has been shortlisted for the Oscars as well. First of all, many congratulations to you from Oscars to IFFI. How the journey has been for you?
It's amazing because our movie has it's a beautiful festival route. We went in US, in USA, in Canada, in Egypt. Now we're here in India with this prestigious festival. It was a dream to come to India. It's my first time, actually, my first day. So to have my film screening tomorrow morning, it will be amazing. And I just wanted to see the reaction of the Indian audience in the Q&A, to share with them all their thoughts about the movie, how the relationship between India and Algeria, because there's a lot in common, I think.
And it's not only about the commonality that both the countries share, but also the bilateral relationship that both the countries share are flourishing. What has so far been your experience of India's audience? Because India is witnessing a transformational journey when we talk about their cinematic experience.
Yeah, it's true. Everybody saw all the movies from Bollywood. We are raised with your movies, so it's amazing to see the transformation and to see the difference between, because I worked with many Indian friends, especially in Paris, in the image, in the screenings, all the technical aspects, but there's also the artistic aspects, and I think the Indian cinema is amazing today, and I think it's Marianne who said it's a bridge between all the cultures, and it's true. It's in the middle of the world. It's the center of the world today. Yeah.
And also when we talk about the kind of technological changes that we are witnessing, from VFX to animations to adding the touch of creativity every time in world cinema, what is your view on that?
It could be an enhancer in the movie if you use it very carefully. But don't forget the main thing in the cinema, it's emotion.
Absolutely, indeed. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those of you on the go, get the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS platform. You can scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Mark Lynn. From all of us here in Delhi, thank you very much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.